one, fight.
And that's the bottom line.
And his kick is good.
I need a weapon.
You cannot escape.
You forget 1,000 things every day. How about you make sure this is one of them?
Here we go.
It's time for the main event.
What's up, good gamers of the internet? Is the Single Player Experience Podcast. I'm your host, Sebastian Mauldin, and joining me today, he is a regular here. You know, we're not even going to sugarcoat it. He's no longer a guest. He's an absolute regular. He is the best of the best. This guy has been broadcasting from towers all across the worlds of Destiny because he's been mowing enemies down left and right. He is a true guardian of gaming. This man is a master of building PCs. This guy's a Halo legend. This guy is a Star Trek aficionado. It doesn't matter what series what series of Star Trek it is. He can name them all. You know, he knows every single character in the franchise. This man is the guy who's recently conquered Disney World for the umpteenth time. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today is Alex, the Guardian Tuab. Alec, how you doing today?
Doing good. Tired, but good.
I bet you are, man. So I want to ask you, right off the top, Alec, I want to ask you one major question. If you've been to Disney World recently, and if you had a Disney-based video game to play, you know, either in the past or in the a one of your imagination, what would be your perfect Disney World or Disney game?
Oh, I'm going to hit you with a classic. Do you remember when Disney tried to rip off Mario Kart? That game is so nostalgic from my childhood. I'm trying to remember the name off the top of my head, but like that game was my jam for a couple of years when I was a kid. Like that game was awesome.
So there was one back in the day called Disney World's Magical Racing Tour. Is this the one you're referring to?
Yes, that's the one. Yeah. And I remember it used to have, there was a story to it. I never remember the story because I was like, what, 4 or 5, maybe 6 years old when it came out.
Evidently, the story was based off of the, was it Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers?
Yes, I think it did have something to do with Chip and Dale because I remember there was a cutscene that would play at the beginning of the game. And I remember Chip and Dale being a fixture of it. This tells me I need to go back and play this game simply for a nostalgia feature. But yeah, that game was the bomb because it was so much fun driving through like all of the different parks and driving through like the various games or various rides. It was good fun. Yeah. See, there you go. Tomorrowland Speedway. Yeah.
Is this the one you're remembering?
Yeah. This was so cool.
Oh, I remember this too. You know,
this
was my Mario Kart growing up.
Yeah, it's like this is great. And it's like, you know, there's all these like Disney World icons. Like there's a contemporary. Obviously, there was the castle there in the background. I don't know if they have the clip of it on here, but like I know that Dinosaur was like one of the rides you could drive through. And then obviously Disney is replacing.
Here's a map.
Yes, there's the map. Okay, so yeah, there's Test Track, and they had like the Epcot ball, and then I remember that they did have. I don't remember if they did Tower of Terror, but I do remember Rock and Roller Coaster, and then obviously Dinosaur was sort of a fixture because I know that you could drive through Dinosaur, and they're now getting rid of it, and so it's kind of sad to see the things Disney World is getting rid of that are now somewhat still remaining, at least in this regard.
Yeah, it took me a while to actually like my first time playing this game. It kind of took me a while to really get over the fact that a lot of the characters I'd watched on the animated Disney shows growing up were like the most featured part of this game. You know?
Yeah.
Because I'd lost my mind thinking that. I was like, oh, because this is one of the first games I had played outside of like, some of the Super Nintendo games to where I'm like, characters that I'm seeing on television are actually playable in my hands. And I was like, like Scrooge McDuck and Chip and Dale. And I was just like, I can't remember there's the character right there that was like the duck that was basically their version of what was it? A RoboCop.
Yep.
It was it was like the Robo Duck, I believe, and I was like, that is so crazy to me that there's this nostalgia for this part of our childhoods, you know?
Absolutely, yeah, and as I said, it was, like, such a cool feature to be able to play through, like, the various rides and, like, you even saw it there. It was Disney Studios, that's how they defined it back then, whereas it has gone from MGM Studios to Hollywood Studios to I believe it had, like, another name change in the middle of that I'm now blanking on, but yeah, just to have all these, like, tracks that are themed off of Disney attractions that are fairly, like I'm trying to like, they hold like, some degree of strong parody with, like, the actual attractions themselves, so I think it's kind of a cool nod to those things.
What really, like, amazes me about this game was, like, it was doing some really cool, innovative stuff that I didn't remember Mario Kart doing at the time because it was like, you had like, these floating carts that especially in the Space Mountain level, like, right here, where it actually looked like you were on a spaceship, and then there was also I think we saw Jungle Cruise a little bit ago, and I was just like, I I'm like, "You actually gave me boats," you know? I'm like, "It actually gave me boats at the time." I was
Yeah.
like, "This is amazing." There was another game that I played that was very similar to this because I was like I was kinda playing the Mario Kart alternatives versus playing mainline Mario Kart around that time frame, so I was playing this and Diddy Kong Racing a lot growing up in my
Yeah,
childhood.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, "This is amazing to me." So this is your perfect Disney-inspired game.
Honestly, yeah, I think it's obviously I personally have not played, like, the Kingdom Hearts series, so I can't say
Really?
yeah, so that's one where I know a lot of people have been like, "That's something that I need to play." Um, but yeah, I think this was, like, the quintessential, like, way to capture the park that was sorta unique, like, I remember when oh gosh, what was it on Xbox? It was, the movement thing on Xbox.
Oh, the Connect.
Yes, the Connect. I
Yeah.
remember Connect had, like, a Magic Kingdom Disney World walkthrough thing that you
Forgot
could
about that.
do, and then it had, like, little virtual mini games of the attractions, but, like, they weren't necessarily, like, recreations of the attractions themselves, whereas, like, obviously, these are not perfect recreations of the attractions either, but, like, they at least put in a decent amount of effort to try to make the tracks very similar to the attractions, to the point where I think the essence is at least captured, so I appreciate the the sort of design philosophy that went into the game because yeah, it was like I said, it was, like, really cool to be, like, you'd, race through, like, Pirates of the Caribbean, and then you'd go on the actual Pirates of the Caribbean, you're like, "Hey, I raced through here."
Oh, that's so cool. A lot of these don't exist as they do as, like, currently constructed. Like and you've been to Disney all your life. Does this make you feel like a nostalgia towards
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Especially too I know that before we were talking about sort of the IPization of Disney parks,
Mhm.
and, like, the it stuff like this, I think, perfectly captures, like, the Epcot that I fell in love with. Because like, the Epcot that I fell in love with was hard-coded, like, late '80s, early '90s, early 2000s, like, attractions. Oh, yeah, that sort of, like, design philosophy stays true with me to the point where, like, the original Innoventions music, so, in Epcot, like, once you get past the Epcot ball, they used to have, um, 2 buildings. There was Innoventions East and Innoventions West,
Wow.
and each one had, like, unique music to it, and they were just walk-through attractions where they had like just little stuff like either little shows that they do or like I know towards their later years they had like a virtual roller coaster that you could build like and it was all meant to be like edutainment stuff but like it was all really fun and it was all very much inspired by like that like futuristic style thing, and it was like so great. And like all of the music was like all synth based and like, all new agey. It was like, oh, this was like, yeah. It's like to a degree, I wish they would go back to it. They never will.
No, probably not. No,
But like
probably not.
the nostalgia for like that era is high. So like being able to sort of experience it through something like this, I think is cool.
So, okay, this is largely, if I remember correctly, based on like the Chippendale meets like the Duck universe, like or Duck characters. Like,
Mhm.
is there any sort of like Disney IP you would want this type of game in modern day
Ooh.
times and base the whole game around like these are the main stars. This is the main star of this game. Like this is the Sonic of
The
this
the,
kart
the
racer.
first thing that came to mind for me was actually Phineas and Ferb. I
Wow.
was a big Phineas and Ferb fan. I think that show was extremely well done. And I think it had like sort of, I think it did like what modern Disney does a very good job of, which is including stuff for parents. Specifically, I think back to the episode where they build a rocket and they go into space, and they're towing their mom's car because the mom's car is like supposed to be their ground for firing up the engine or something.
Mhm.
And they're like towing the car, and they're like, oh, we need to release the car. And so they release it, and these astronauts are trying to park a spaceship at like the ISS or whatever. And just as they're about to go and park at it, the car flies in, and they're like,
What?
man, even in space?
Someone stole their parking spot in space. That's funny. That's funny. I never thought about that. But that's a good pool. I think like I wonder. So you'd have to correct me about this or educate me, I should say. Does Phineas and Ferb have a solid roster of characters that would be like a good
Yeah,
base
I'd
point
say
for this?
so. Because what
Okay.
you got at least Doofenshmirtz and Perry, and you got Phineas and Ferb, and then you got Candace, and then they usually have their crew, which I've totally forgotten their names, but like yeah, they usually had like a pretty good cast of like reoccurring characters that they could probably pull from to do with.
Mission complete.
Okay, so Alec, you have told me your quintessential Disney game, your perfect one. I want to ask you I want to ask you a hot 20 questions here, or, however many questions it takes to answer the tried and true question. Because you brought to me a question in our Discord chat about like you are thinking about making the ultimate dive, I would say, into getting a paradise device known as the Steam Deck.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah.
What? So I want to ask, I want to dive deep into the story about this. First of all, what made you want a Steam Deck? What drew your what drew your attention to the device in the first place?
One of them was actually like just accessibility.
Okay.
Like I was thinking specifically like on the plane, because right, like the older I get, the more I hate flying, and like the more miserable I get. And I don't know if my childlike wonder is dying or something, but like, man, when I'm on a plane, it is like the most miserable I've ever been. I'm like, it's hot. I have no room to spread out. I usually get either uncomfortable or like I can't get distracted enough to like pull myself out of it. So from that perspective, I'm like, okay, but how would I feel if I had, Oblivion on my lap,
Yeah.
Would that change how I feel? Which I experimented with that on this trip, where I'm like, one of the games I downloaded on my fiance's Steam Deck was Oblivion. And so our first flight over, I played Oblivion on the plane. I learned about the Steam Deck's battery life
Real quick. I bet.
real quick. Especially because this flight did not have like because that was the other part of it too, where I was like, okay, if I'm on a long flight, they usually have those at least a power connector in between the seats, or at least most modern planes do. So I was like, okay, I could probably take advantage of that. But this one did not.
No.
Like, yeah. But But yeah, it was like from that perspective of just being able to be like, okay, you know, I'm on a plane, I can play it here. If say I have to travel for work and I don't want to like haul a laptop or haul the ITX build or even just play from bed where I'm like, instead of, doom scrolling, I'm like, hey, what if I actually play Doom?
Instead of doom scroller, just play Doom outright. I like that.
Yes, yeah. Doom sticking instead of scrolling.
That's cool. I like that. I like that. So Oblivion, though, like I gotta ask, like this is a game that I was obsessed with growing up, as well as back in what was it? Back when I had graduated college. I think it was like I graduated high school around 2009. This game came out in
Mhm,
2006, I believe, and so I didn't
mhm.
get to it until like I was starting college in '09, and it took over my life. Like, what's your history with Oblivion?
Okay, so it was 2006, and my friends at the time, they were very much like on the cutting edge of like new releases, and they
Oh
would
yeah.
play stuff that I didn't. So my understanding of like RPGs was negative. Like I had at that point in my life had not interacted with RPGs. When I started gaming, it was 1998. My dad built a PC for me because he worked for Intel. He wanted to play games with his kids. So it's like we played whatever he wanted to play. So it was generally like we played. I remember, and this is why I have such fond memories of Battlefield. One of the first games that I fell in love with was Battlefield, where he would stick my brother and I, my older brother and I, on an enemy carrier, and then he would just do strafing runs of us in airplanes and things, and we'd try to shoot his airplane down. So
That's cool.
like we grew up on like Battlefield, we grew up on like, Jedi Knight, Dark Forces 2 and Jedi Knight Jedi Academy, and we were like more of an FPS third person player, family. So I remember when I went over to my friend's house and he was playing Oblivion, and he was like trying to explain to me, he's like, no, this isn't like an FPS game. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you can do whatever you want. And I was like, what do you mean you can do whatever you want? What does that
It didn't
mean?
compute,
And
did
he's
it?
like, no, it didn't. And then he's like, just try it. And I remember I like went up and punched a guard because I was like, well, what can I do? And like, I pissed off a bunch of guards, and then tried to run out of the city. And I'm like, where can I go? And he's like, wherever you want. Like, look at the map. And it was like, sort of that
Mind
really
blowing.
big, yeah, it was a mind-blowing experience. So I remember begging my parents to get Oblivion, and we ended up buying it. And like from basically 2007 till about probably 2009 or 2010, that was like my number one game that competed with Madden. It was the only thing that would compete with Madden. So yeah, I played the absolute hell out of that game. I never I had like a couple of like deep playthroughs, so I know I had beaten the campaign I think at least 2 or 3 times, and
Okay.
I had done like the Dark Brotherhood storylines. I watched my older brother do like the whole Gray Fox storyline. But yeah, so it was definitely a large part of nostalgia. So that's why, of course, when they re-released it very recently, I was very excited to go back and do like the arena playthrough and do some Dark Brotherhood stuff. And like I put in, I think probably 40 or 50 hours before I drifted back. But I was like, yeah, for those 40 or 50 hours, I was like, man, this game
You
is
were
just
golden.
great. Oh, yeah, I was like, this is great. It's jank, but I love it.
Oh yeah. There's no lie about that. It's jank as hell, but it's fun. It's jank as hell. So I did not know. It was a tale of like two different games for me, like Oblivion, because like growing up, I told you I'd played this in like 2009, and I lived in a rural area in East Texas that didn't have internet around that time. Like
Mhm.
home internet was that dial up internet to where like it was AOL style. You couldn't be on the phone. at the same time, so it was, I didn't have internet until I went like mainline into college. So one thing I did not know about Oblivion, and I did not know this because I wasn't so keyed onto the internet around that time frame, was like there's so many glitches in Oblivion. I did not know
Yes.
that. Like there's duplication glitch that allows you to basically put something in a trunk or a barrel and such like that, and you could just duplicate it. I didn't know
Yep.
that. I did not know
Yep.
that. I didn't, I was my mind was baffled because like I looked it up, like because Big Brother's always watching. You know how you look up something on your phone and it starts to like feed you things in your algorithm of like this is a story related to that. So like I had looked up like Elder Scrolls Oblivion release date or like something to that nature, and because I was like, when did this game come out? Like what? How long ago was it that I had played this game? And I looked that one up, and then it started to like one told me the best things about like a story had popped up, the best things about Oblivion that you did not know about, and one of them was the duplication glitch that I was just raving about, and then the other one was like a Magica glitch, like unlimited Magica. I was like,
Yep.
that was a thing.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
I did not know that.
Because the other thing that they were really big into that I was not, but I would experience through them was mods. So they were very early adopters of like Nexus mods, and I used to be like, I was always very skeptical of Nexus mods. I was like,
Mhm.
I am going to get a computer virus. I am not touching that. That looks sketch as hell. And to this day, I still think it's kind of sketch as hell.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I would like go and play vanilla Oblivion, and like I was never into like the duplication stuff. I will say I was into the cheat codes. So like just pulling up the console command and being like, I want 4 billion gold, and like I don't have to worry about gold. I'll just buy my way through everything. Which, as an 11-year-old it works. As an adult, you're like, this is not fun.
I get it. I'm gonna tell you though, I had the opposite experience because as a kid, I 100%ed Oblivion. This was my first game I got all the
Wow.
achievements for. I had never that was my first Xbox game I'd gotten every single achievement for. I lived and breathed this game growing up, and then like to find out that there was like a Grand Theft Auto-ness to like
Yes.
Oblivion was like it blew my mind in like 3 months ago to the point to where I was just like. I took a break from what I was doing, and then I immediately saved, and I was just like, I saved it and I named this save. It was just like the tales before I became a god. And I intentionally did that. Knowing that I was just like, I am about to live out what was robbed of me growing up. So I was just like, I started creating like magic spells, and also like I would basically create like weapons, and I would start duplicating all these god tier weapons that I had. I would take like all these spells that I would never had access to like in the base game because I was like, I never built my like magic. I can never build my magic up to 33,000 enough to where I can like wipe out a city at a single spell. I'm like, I never could do that. So it's the temptation. So big Harry Potter fan. So I created a spell called Fiendfire. It was just like a spell to where it was just a ray, like a ball of fire that I shot out. And then from there, it would just be a wave of like flames and heat for like 60 seconds. That would like a 10-foot radius, it felt like. And it would just burn everything in my path. I was everything on my path. And then there was another one I called what was it? The Mjolnir. And it was like a hammer that I created that I just slammed down, and from everything like a lightning damage and frost damage, because I thought frost looked cool, like the spread of frost and hovering and how it hovers over like a certain area. Like I did that, and it just looks like there was just a wave of electric and like this smoky frost that erupted from this hammer that I carried, and everything around it would just be obliterated. I cheesed the hell out of this go around. I was just like, I'm not living like a peasant twice. Not twice. It felt like, I don't know if you're an anime fan, but it felt like I was isekai'd into a world to where I had already, like, a world that I'd been watching for like a long time, and I was just like, oh, I'm fine. I was reborn into this world, and now I know all the secrets of this world. And I'm like, I lived and breathed this 20 years ago, so I know all the storylines. Now it's time for me to be a god amongst these peasants. Bow to me.
So yeah, that's like the opposite of mine, because mine
Yeah,
was
for
like,
sure.
okay, I'm gonna play this properly this time, to the point where, so my best friend, he is maybe the one of the biggest Skyrim lovers that has ever existed. Like, he plays Skyrim to the efficiency that I'm like, if he played the stock market how he played Skyrim, he'd be a billionaire. Like, he is like, so okay, so I'm gonna go to this place, I'm gonna go to this place, I'm gonna grab this item, I'm gonna grab this item, then I'm gonna level up by doing these things in order to get to this level, to the point where, like, he would watch me play because he thinks it's funny, because I'm like a, like a baby deer running around going, what's this? And he's like, you've put in like 5 hours and you're only a level 10.
That's funny.
Like, so, like, when I told him Oblivion was coming out, I'm like, you're not going to tell me a thing. I don't want to know anything. I want to play this like I'm playing like a child. I want to do the quests that I remember. But it's like, I want to figure out everything on my own. So, like, I remember on like Instagram Reels, I'd see people like, oh, here's my spell that does like 6 billion damage, and they'd throw it down and nuke a city. I'm like, nope.
I was like,
like,
give it to me. I want to know.
I'm like, give me the steel battle axe and we'll call it a day and we'll go figure it out from there.
I so admire that. I admire that, because I did that the first time around. This time around, I refuse to be powerless.
Yeah, as you shouldn't be. I think you should have the fun with it,
So tell me, like, how'd you spec out your character? What'd you do? Because I assumed you started a new playthrough during your trip.
So
Okay.
no, so I actually continue to play through, because I was
Wow.
one of the things that I was curious about was, how is the crossover function between Steam Deck and desktop?
Okay, gotcha.
Specifically for me, because I wanted to see the difference, because, like, yeah, I think the last time I had played Oblivion before this was probably like April or May. So I was like, okay,
It'd been a
cool.
while.
Yeah, it had been a while. So I was like, okay, I'm curious to see if Steam, I know Steam obviously has crossplay, it does its own cloud server saves. So I was like, okay, it'll be there, but I want to see how it all transitions. And it transitioned flawlessly. I mean, it plays very well on Steam Deck. Definitely was a learning curve. I'm happy I picked Oblivion first, because Oblivion was a reminder that I have retired from my console days in terms of being good at console, just because I don't use sticks enough to be able to be effective at a lot of games that I play. Like, there is a technical limitation, just because it's like, when I used to play console, right? Like, when I used to play FIFA all the time, when I used to play Madden, when I used to play FPS games,
Like
it
Halo,
never left. Yeah, like when you play Halo, it's like, okay, you're developing really good technical skills, specifically with your thumbs. Now it's like just moving and doing things was supremely hard. So it was like starting off with Oblivion, where the combat is much slower. You definitely don't quite get punished as hard in combat as you would in some other games. So I was like, okay, I can get away with stuff, and because I can get away with stuff, it'll be fine. So yeah, I fired up an old save, which ironically, the old save ended up fulfilling a childhood goal, which was, I had always wanted to become a vampire, which is ironic because I could never become one, because it's like somewhat is random chance. You have to sleep in a bedroll out in the open a little bit. At
You
least
talking
from
about this
my
game?
understanding. Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Just making sure.
Yes. So like I had never really been a vampire. It's not something I had ever done. And then ironically in this save, I had come back from doing a quest line, specifically the one that's right outside of, is it Bruma? Might be
Yeah,
Bruma.
Burma. Yeah,
It's up in the mountain there where you head to that cave. You're trying to acquire that item for the countess. I
gotcha,
can't.
gotcha.
Yeah, where you end up, following the notes and you end up fighting a bunch of trolls and doing that. I got my shit kicked in. I came out of there with all broken gear, and like I made it a point too, like halfway through, like all of my gear was starting to break and I just had a couple backup items, and I'm like, no, you tough this out. Like you use your potions, you eat your cheese, like, do what you gotta do to get through these fights, because you're not going back and running through this again. For multiple reasons. One of those being the Steam Deck's battery will not allow for it.
No,
So like you
absolutely
gotta
not.
power through this. So yeah, when I came back, I ended up contracting vampirism because I've just been using the bedroll at Cloud Ruler Temple, because I'm like, oh, this is it's an easy place to be. I can always fast travel here. I just drop my stuff off in a chest because I'm like, I don't need a house. And then ironically on this, what is supposed to be like a clean warrior build where,
Yeah,
a
for
good
sure.
guy warrior that's doing the thing just became a vampire. And I was like, oh, that's kind of an interesting twist. I'm curious to see how that works. So,
You're gonna hate it. You're gonna hate it.
oh, yeah. I walked
You're
out
gonna hate
immediately
it.
into the sun and started burning. And I was like,
Yeah,
do I need to reload? I might need to reload.
yeah, yeah. I was just like, you're gonna hate it. Because I remember the first time I contracted vampirism in that game, it was just like, I thought it was the coolest thing ever too. Because I was like, oh, there's so many like stat boosts as well, like
Yeah.
so many different like advantages to it. And then I just hated the fact that like I just couldn't go outside, and 95% of this game feels like it is taking place in real time in the daytime.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, like
Yeah, because it's like you can't go to a shop without it being the day.
yeah, for sure, unless you rob it at night. Unless you rob that thing at night.
So like I was sitting there like, the issues became very apparent like the first 3 seconds when I stepped out, and I was like, why am I done? No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I was very impressed with how Oblivion played on the Steam Deck, particularly from a visual fidelity standpoint. So I, obviously being the tech hardware nerd that I am, I turned on the little performance metrics thing, because I was like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, I want to know what my Oblivion FPS is. And then, yeah, getting basically 60 FPS most of the time. And yeah, there were stutters, but I kind of expected some degree of stutters, not only because it's a Bethesda game, but it's also on a Steam Deck. But like, in terms of like it being a very playable experience, I was very impressed.
Yeah. So, do you think you're gonna continue playing Oblivion, or you feel like you've got your feel for now?
I don't know. It's definitely up in the air, especially with Destiny being in the place that it is. It's like Oblivion was a very good change of pace. So playing more Oblivion is probably definitely in the cards. But I also, there's also that lovely ODST drop that just happened in Helldivers. And I have plenty of Xbox friends who are like, hey, I just picked this up. You want to play it? I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
reinforcements. So, yeah, we'll see. It'll definitely work its way in there, though.
I heard a great story about that recently, that like all the PC and PlayStation gamers have been like welcoming all the Xbox gamers with open arms and such. I'm like, that's sweet.
I will say the Helldivers community is like one of the best gaming communities I have ever been around. Like they are
Huh. Why so?
they're just ultra positive. They're very excited to like, they just love playing. I think one of the things that Arrowhead has done a great job of is they create a very strong sense of camaraderie. And with creating that sense of camaraderie, I think it shows in game. Like,
That's cool.
like when you're saluting your friends, it's like, okay, yeah, all right, we're in this together, and because of that, it's like, even with new people, it's like, okay, let's show you the way so that you can avoid the things that, tripped us up. And I think even from a balancing perspective, because I know Arrowhead has had to walk that line between having the game be accessible and difficult. They have really tried to push for the game just being a fun experience. And I think it really shows in the community as well that, like, yes, there are people who are buttheads, and yeah, there are people who take the game far too seriously and team kill and have expectations and things. But I would say an overwhelming majority of the community is there because A, they want to have fun, and B, there is that shared sense of we're in this together.
So, like with this boost, do you feel like there's been a reinvigoration of like Helldivers? Not to say it ever went away, because like I feel like they've dropped steady amounts of content enough to where like there's always been, if you're interested in Helldivers, there's always been enough to keep you interested,
Yeah.
or at least like for the most part to keep you engaged. But do you feel like this is another shot in the arm for Helldivers
Oh,
too?
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I think the Helldivers has a flow where I think they have sort of a big moment like this. So, for instance, the last moment before this, I would argue, was the invasion of Super Earth. That brought a huge, or very sizable amount of players back.
Was that
Just
the
because
one in December?
it was this year, I think. I want to say
Okay,
it was
gotcha,
like
gotcha.
February or March, April. Trying
Okay.
to remember when that happened. That felt like many moons ago. Might have been in December. I don't even know anymore. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was like, yeah, when Super Earth is being invaded, it's like, man, we got to defend our home. And there was such a big push for everybody to come back for that it was like, we after it, we got a commemorative cape,
No,
because
that's cool.
it was such a big event. Like, I remember, ironically, it was one of those things where they had a storyline that occurred towards the end of it where the Super Earth president dies. And so many people were like, they can't kill our president. And it's like a character that we have had zero interaction with. We don't even know their name. We don't know who the hell they are. We just know that they are the Super Earth president and they have been killed. And it's like, all right,
That's awesome.
we need to kill every squid that we see because, for Super Earth. So yeah, I think they have done such an incredible job of fostering that community.
There's a strong sense of patriotism, behind Helldivers
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is so cool and so fascinating, especially in today's climate. I'm like, that's really nice. That's really cool.
The irony of Helldivers too is we are 100% the bad guys. Like,
Yeah.
and I know there are people in the Helldivers community who'll hear me say that and they'll be like, "All right, go get the truth enforcers because
Yeah.
this man needs to be shot." But we are 100% the bad guys. And there's sort of an irony in that where it's like, yeah, we might scream for Super Earth, but like at the same time, it's like, yeah, but we are the bad guys. We're doing bad shit.
That's funny. That's funny. I want to ask you my next Steam Deck related question. So your significant other has a Steam Deck. Like, what did she ever tell you? What was her motivation for getting the Steam Deck, or do y'all own any other like handheld gaming devices out there, or was this the primary one?
So we have the Switch, and I remember
Okay.
she borrowed the Switch for a couple of months. She didn't play it all that often, but I know that she's a gamer. Like, when she's interested, she'll play. Like, she'll get on for like a week or two and really get into it, and then she takes like usually a fairly long or fairly significant break, and then eventually gets back into it again. So yeah, we were looking for an option that, like, I didn't want to commit to having to buy a whole gaming setup, which I know that she didn't want a desktop, and a laptop was what she was looking for. But at the same time, I mean, an effective gaming laptop these days is fairly pricey.
Yeah, for sure.
And the Steam Deck at the entry level price point is extremely affordable. So it was like, we picked that up for her and was like, all right, anything that you really want to play, you can play here. Cause yeah, at that point she had been limited to, like, I remember there were sometimes we'd hang out and I'd be on my desktop and I'd like pull out my gaming laptop so she could play, Hogwarts Legacy or play Jedi Survivor. So it was like, okay, well, here's a platform where you can play those things on, where we don't have to invest in a whole gaming setup. Ironically, since I have started ITX building now, it's like, okay, well, now she wants a little ITX build. I want to build her a little ITX
Yeah.
build, so it kind of works out. But yeah, the Steam Deck was just, at least from an accessibility standpoint, and this is one of the reasons that I push the Steam Deck so hard for folks as well, is from a price standpoint, having access to a fairly large section of the Steam library. I mean, yes, there are games that are not compatible on Steam Deck, which, great places like ProtonDB will walk you through
Yeah, for sure.
what is compatible and what isn't. But like, yeah, I have a friend who he's only ever owned consoles, and he has no connection to Steam and no connection to PC gaming. And he's a huge trophy hunter. Like, he averages like 300 trophies a year across various consoles. And he's like, yeah, I want to play these games, because he found like a list of the greatest games ever or whatever. And he's like, oh, I can't play these because I don't have access to a PC. And I'm like, get a Steam Deck. And he's like, what do you mean? I was walking him through. I'm like, this will give you access to playing those games. You can still plat them. It's just through Steam's trophy system. So I was like, yeah, it's just I think from an entry level gamer standpoint, it's absolutely fantastic.
So, you're interested in getting a Steam Deck. You've already got hands on with it. I want to know though, like, what what do you find interesting in the Steam Deck's capabilities and the potential library of games that you would actually be playing on the Steam Deck? Because you're a Destiny 2 fan. This isn't natively supported on the Steam Deck. What are you gonna do?
Not play Destiny.
Yeah.
And I think that's also sort of the bigger reason the reason that I have a bigger interest in it now is since I have sort of broken the chains of Destiny for the most part. They've got maybe like an ankle bracelet on me now.
Ankle bracelet, you're on house arrest in Destiny.
Exactly. But no, since being able to break away from it a bit and having a higher interest in other games, I think has greatly increased sort of my interest in the Steam Deck. In particular, also from a hardware perspective. So one of the things is, I know Asus has a handheld one. I know MSI has a handheld one. I know Razer is trying to push to make a handheld one.
Legion has to go.
Yep, Legion has the go. I find Steam Deck to be a little bit more accessible, and by a little bit, I mean by a fairly large margin. I think the Steam library as a whole is very enticing, especially as somebody who, uh, not by choice, because I didn't know what was happening back in 2004, but my dad was a very early adopter of Steam and Valve. Like, we were big Half-Life
That's
players as
interesting.
kids, so Valve has always been a very large part of my media consumption. So, and rightfully or wrongfully, I do have a lot of faith in Valve. I think Valve, this is definitely biasness. I think Valve is a good company. I like Valve. So it's
I do
like,
too.
I see a product that they make, I'm interested. And on top of it, when I see a product that I think is pretty high quality for everything that you're paying for it and for the access it gives you to their library, I think it only sort of increases that.
So I'm curious, like, you are a guy who likes having all your games be played natively. You're not really a cloud
Yeah.
gamer at all. Like,
No,
has
yeah.
the news of the Steam Deck's new features where you can integrate, what was it, GeoForce Now, is that enticing you at all?
I would be at least remotely interested to try it. So I
Mhm.
think, like I said, I think with sort of the really big interest that I've gotten into computer hardware, and definitely a growing interest in the software, I'd be curious. even just from the perspective of maybe it's not necessarily a product that I am going to use often, but I'd at least try it just to see, okay, what is this like? What does this allow me to do that I couldn't do initially without it? And I think that's sort of like where I was with the Steam Deck. Like this trip, whether by design or not, was a test run of being like, okay, if I am on an airplane, for 5 or 6 hours, is this something that will hold my interest? It did. So I was like, okay, so that increases my interest in it. And then it's like, okay, even playing from a hotel room, like I played Helldivers. So I fired up. I initially tried to do it through Disney's Wi-Fi, but their Wi-Fi in the hotel is not capable of sustaining Helldivers. So I put a hotspot on my phone and played off the hotspot just for an hour. And I'm like, the big thing I learned again was the technical limitations from my standpoint, not from Steam Deck standpoint, but from like my own not being a sticks player often enough to feel comfortable doing so, that I struggled in Helldivers and was like, oh, okay, so I just need to lower the difficulty and this would be a more enjoyable experience. And to a degree, did slightly damper my excitement for it, because if my excitement for Steam Deck was parity with like, I still can, which technically you can get the dock for it and you can have mouse and keyboard and all that stuff.
Sure.
I'm not bringing that on that trip.
Yeah.
Like things like Doom might be less interested in playing on a Steam Deck. I would try it to see if I can make it work. If I have to lower the difficulty level, it does somewhat ruin ruin's not the right word, but definitely lower my enjoyment of some of those games. So from that standpoint of, I know that the technical limitations, they will improve over time. It's not something I'm going to put hours of time in, especially when I have access to my desktop or I have access to my ITX build.
So I'm curious though. It's like you do travel quite a bit, but then like, is there maybe that might be your chance to try out some different types of games and maybe like appease the palate in a different type of way? Maybe instead of RTS, or maybe instead of RTS, not RTS, but FPS. Sorry, I had RTS on the brain. I was like, I had been thinking about Civilization earlier today, and I was like, that's my destiny.
You're not alone. I was thinking about playing some Stellaris this weekend.
Yeah, I get it. I absolutely get it. So like, with the, instead of maybe FPS or maybe like a fast-paced FPS, maybe this is like a chance to like maybe try out indies at that point, some indie games that you haven't tried out lately.
Ironically, 2 games that came to mind while I was playing on the plane. The first one, I was like, what would play great on this is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
That'd be fun.
It's not that fast-paced FPS style. It is definitely more of that slower style game. And even from a combat standpoint, I was like, okay, so I could see where the appeal is for that. The other one, and we see footage for it now, was Baldur's Gate, where I was like, it takes the technical element entirely out of the question. It's because Baldur's Gate isn't a technical skill game. It's more of that.
For sure not.
It's a thinking game. It's how do you interpret the story? How do you interpret the characters? How do you make decisions off of those things? How do you make strategic fights work? And this was definitely a case where I was thinking, okay, this would be a place where I would play Baldur's Gate, because I am limited and because I know that, my own physical skills will let me down in terms of the things that I want to do. This pace of a game works for me here, where I'm like, okay, I could see being on a plane, slapping in the power charger cable and just playing Baldur's Gate for like 4 hours and just like getting lost in the sauce of that, because it's like it is essentially locking me in a room and being like, play this, you got nothing else you can do, so you're either gonna sink or swim, so go play it.
I
Yeah,
like that.
it was one of those games where I was like, okay, I could see that working.
I like that. I think Baldur's Gate's a good one. I will warn you though, like the text is a little small on the Steam Deck.
Yes, yes.
So I'm
So
like,
that was
that
something I
might be a
did
problem.
struggle with.
Yeah.
Did so the first oh, excuse me, the first flight was at night. So because they had shut off all the lights, I was able to dim the screen because I was like, okay, I'll save battery, I'll dim the screen. Big mistake. I'm like,
No.
I can't see enough to be able to function, especially on the non-LCD screen, that I
Yeah.
was like, this is not gonna work. Whereas I think if I was on LCD, maybe, but yes, I can definitely see that being a problem because yeah, it's which I get. Like, it's a fairly small space. They got to maximize as much as possible. And obviously, resolution scaling isn't perfect. But yeah, I could definitely see that being an issue.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's not like the biggest thing in the world. I'm gonna tell you, like, there's different games that I think like really play well on the Steam Deck that you might get into knowing your personality. Though especially like this will give you a chance to actually get into those particular games. I think on one that I'd probably recommend to you, it's not like it's the best game ever, but like the way that it plays on the Steam Deck and the story you might get out of it. Star Wars Outlaws
Okay,
is
yeah, I
one that
could
I
see
think you
that.
might actually like because of the way like it's locking you in a place to where it is still kind of an open world game, but it's locked in a room like you said, and you're forced to try it. And you do like Star Wars, and also like and you also like sci-fi. So I'm like, I do think that is a type of game that you would probably really enjoy, specifically if you were stuck on the Steam Deck experience. I think that one's one you
Yes.
would enjoy. Also because like you don't have to read a lot. A lot of it's read out to you, through
Yeah.
cutscenes and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So I'm like, that's not too bad. Another one I was thinking of, you already did Star Wars Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. Have you played Hades before?
No, but I have heard very good things about Hades.
I was about to say, I'm like, man, okay, so Hades, I think it's probably I battle with this all the time. If Hades is now my favorite game of all time, like it's getting up there.
Okay.
There's always like a pull for me to want to play Hades, but I'm a roguelike sicko, so take that for what you will. But like, so have you seen the gameplay for Hades before?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
So
gotcha.
definitely, Hades is a game I've had remote interest in only because I have heard such tremendous things about it that it's
Hmm.
like it's one of those games where it's like if you hear enough about it, kind of like that was like Black Myth Wukong for me, not only from
Yeah,
a hardware perspective but from a gameplay perspective, where it's so highly touted that it's like okay, well I have to look into this. So yeah,
get that
Hades is
completely.
definitely on that list.
Yeah, I like this. I like the story of Hades. I also like Greek mythology as well.
Hmm.
So I'm like that kind of like enticed me. But then it's like I think this is really good because like your controller motor skills I know like are hampered because you've been such a PC gamer like for the last umpteenth amount of your life at this point. Like
Yeah.
Hades, even though it does require like those motor skills, you can build up to that. Like, and while you're on a 4 to 5 hour plane, perfect for it. Also, does not kill the battery at all on this thing. You can actually run this. Yeah, I'm like, unlike some of the other high level AAA games that we talked about, this is the indie game. And even though the art is beautiful and such like that, this I think is perfect for the the long flights to where you still want to get in like a good solid play session in without
Hmm.
like honestly worrying about the battery all the time. But it's also like you always feel the progression or a sense of progression in this game too, to where like even if you die, you restart a run all the way over and you might like gain new skills because of like the run you just did. So there's always that sense of progression there. And then there's always like a sense of satisfaction in that even though I didn't beat the main bosses this time around, I've learned more about the lore, or I've met this character on this run, or like now I'm able to do this, this, and this, and this, and I'm like, I feel like it's the perfect handheld game at this point.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
definitely recommend like Hades. It's also because I'm like, I think the game is like relatively like cheaper now because it's been out for so long. You can buy that at a Steam sale so easily. I was gonna ask you, are you into puzzles or not really?
It's weird because sometimes they resonate, sometimes they don't. So, like for instance, Portal resonates. Like,
Okay, gotcha.
man, you throw Portal in front of me, I'm having a great time. But it's like, yeah, as soon as you start to move into some other puzzle games, I'm like,
I understand that. I'm like that as well. To me, I'm like I have to be engaged in either the gameplay or the narrative for me to be involved in a
yeah,
puzzle game. The reason why I asked, you heard of Blueprints?
I have.
Okay. So I think this, you know, is your significant other interested in puzzles? Like, does she like puzzle stuff? Because this could be
Kinda,
coupley for you.
sorta, maybe. Hard to say.
So so let me give you the pitch, and you tell me if this sounds like a Alec game or not.
Okay.
General pitch is like, first person. You can see the gameplay right here. First person, game. It's a puzzle game. It's a roguelike, but it's also like the general pitch is that one of your family members has passed away recently.
Mhm.
You inherit this house, or at least you receive an invitation to go check out this house that you have the potential to inherit. The key
Mhm.
is like there's 45 rooms. I believe it's 45 rooms into this house, and you have to discover the 46th room, the hidden
Oh,
46th room, in order to inherit this house. So I'm like, the whole premise is like you start off in the same room every single run, the foyer at the very beginning, and you can decide to go left, right, or straight forward. And in each run, you are randomly generated a room that you can allocate towards, or you can drop down at the left side, the right side, or the beginning. And it's up to you to figure out the puzzle of how each room is supposed to be laid out in order for you to get to the room where you can receive your inheritance. Now, like,
interesting.
yeah, so in every single I'm not a puzzle guy, but what really interested me is from a design perspective. Like
Mhm.
I was playing this game thinking to myself, I'm like, somebody's creative mind made like all that made this, and they made it to where like every single room in the game there's like a hallway that's like a generic card, so to speak, a generic room that you can place down. There's like a regular bedroom, I believe is like one of those generic rooms. But then they have like some of these weird rooms to where like, oh, this is the green room. This is like the chapel. This is the garage. And you have to like really think about, okay, where do I place these rooms in order to progress, or in order to unlock a certain feature that might get me. I know I'm not going to find the room like room 46 on this run. Instead, I'll just see if I can find maybe a resource or maybe unlock a certain pathway. And now on my next run, it'll completely give me maybe it'll get me further to my goal. Also, like you're reading about like there's pieces of lore around the house to where you can read about
Mhm.
like other people who have tried to find the hidden room, and
Hmm.
how and their journey on whether or not like how they couldn't achieve it, but how they dived into madness or the frustration, or like you're reading their notes to see like, oh, I made it this far. This is how I made it this far. And it's
Okay.
just and the reason why I think this is like I'm listing out Steam Deck games here, like games that I think are primarily focused with Steam Deck in mind, to
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
so I'm like, I wouldn't say like, hey, Alec, I think this is your shit. Like, play this while you're at the house. But I'm like, while you're gone, and since you're trying out different things, and maybe like
Yeah.
trying to see what inspires you this go around in this stage of your life with this particular device, I was just like, this one might tickle your fancy. And also like passing the Steam Deck back and forth, or like trying to get your significant other's input on different things about this game it's such a conversation piece, you know?
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
like, so that's why I was just like, I think you might actually really dig this type of game, if not just for admiring the artistry about it, like the gameplay design.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if you're a gambler or not, but have you heard the good word that is Balatro?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Goodness.
I am not a Balatro player myself, but man, have I seen that game absolutely consume people. Like,
It's
holy moly. Yeah.
one of them. I'm a roguelike sicko, man. So I'm like, anytime, like, roguelikes are my equivalent to you playing an FPS game, and I'm like, I see the word. It's anything that has rogue in front of it, either light or like, and I'm like, I gotta try it out. So I'm like, Balatro, though, I think, perfect Steam Deck game. It's easy to play, very easy to pick up, easy to manage. But yeah, the Doom: The Dark Ages plays pretty well on Steam Deck, by the way, in a way that I think you would like as well.
So I was going to say, one of the big things that I've really enjoyed is that Proton DB, just because they do such an incredible job of breaking down like what games are really Steam Deck compatible, or at the very least, like they'll tell you, what's playable, and they at least give it enough of a rating to be like, okay, this is a bronze rating. What does that mean? Well, at least at the bronze rating, it means it'll turn on.
Yeah.
At the very least, like, okay, it'll run. But then, like, you look for other games where it's like, like Undertale is, it's native. Like,
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
native to Linux, so it runs just fine on Steam Deck. And of course, a lot of the old Valve games, so like Left 4 Dead runs well on there, Portal 2 runs well on there. XCOM, so like that's another game I think would be really good on Steam Deck just because it is a little bit slower. I also am very curious to try Cuphead because I bought Cuphead for the Switch many moons ago, and now I'm like, okay, if you lock me on an airplane for 4 hours and you're like, you got to play Cuphead,
you're gonna be pissed off passenger. I mean, so hard, man.
I'm already pissed off.
Yeah,
but it's like
so hard.
Yeah.
It's fun, though. It's a challenge.
The other one that also caught my eye, because as I was going through the list, was Jurassic World. I was like, or like Jurassic World Evolution, where like you
Is that the one where you manage the park?
Yes.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I was like, I probably put in like 20 or 30 hours on the PC version.
Okay.
Because it's a fun, relaxing, like, okay, cool. I'll, make some money and breed some dinos and do that thing. I could see that being good fun on the Steam Deck as well. So I was like, okay. There are definite. No. So the one, so I have a friend who I love dearly, and I have been trying to get him to hell dive with me now for 2 years. And the proposition that we are sitting on is he's like, I will hell dive with you if you play Factorio with me.
I was just about to say Factorio!
Factorio it's on the mind. It's in the realm of like, okay, like I went and visited him because he's in LA, and like the last time I had inspections there, he's in the Hollywood area, and a lot of my inspections are usually in like central LA. So it was like, okay, it's easy to be like, okay, well, after, I'm done with work, it's a 25-30 minute drive. It can be at least.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, it's like, if it is that 25 or 30 minute drive, I can just pop over to his house. And every time he's like, hey, look at Factorio. Hey, look at Factorio. Hey, look at Factorio.
It's so fun, man.
Yeah,
it's so fun.
That's another one where I'm like, okay, I could see Factorio. But then there's also like, one of the other things I did is I went through the old Steam library to see what I have purchased that I have never tried. Grim Dawn is on there. And I'm like, Grim Dawn runs, I think, either platinum or native to the Steam Deck. And I'm like,
that's really good.
I could see pulling out something like Grim Dawn and doing that as well. So yeah, I like the concept of Steam Deck from the perspective that we've been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I am slightly saddened by the Steam Deck from the perspective of, okay, it's not a platform that I'm necessarily going to want to flock to play Helldivers on.
No,
Like, if
for
I'm
sure
in a
not.
hotel room, it's not something that I necessarily am going to be looking to do. But at you're not going to be playing Helldivers on a plane anyways. So it's like, it opens up a different avenue to play games that are something different.
So, have you heard of an indie game called I Am Your Beast?
No.
Okay, so general pitch is it's an indie game. You are a guy who basically wants to be in the wilderness, kind of chilling. Looks like you're an old agent of some sort. They don't really kind
Mhm.
of go dive into deep on what sort of agency you were a part of. But anyways, so whole thing is you're minding your business. The agency is like, hey, we want you to come back in, and you're like, nah, I don't want to. But they're like, no, you either come back in or we're gonna make you come back in. And then the whole thing is like, oh, if you're coming for me, best know I'm taking everyone out with everyone that comes for me out. So it is. You love it, like FPS games. This is like an indie game to where you are a living, breathing guy like John Wick, and you can see you can
Yeah.
kind of see it in the art style right here. It's the whole thing is like it's time trials on you basically mowing all these people down. The goal for every single level is to mow down everybody in the level and then make it to the end destination. And at the end destination, they give you a letter grade on how you did. You were stylish in the way that you killed everybody, or maybe you did it in a certain stylistic way, such as like in the video just now, I threw a knife and hit like a gas canister. 4 people exploded around it. There's another level I think is like one of the funnest levels I played recently in video games, to where there's guys just hanging around a bee, like a whole bunch of hives of bees. And instead of throwing knives and at like gas canisters, I kept throwing knives upwards and hitting the beehives, and they just come down and kill everybody over and over again. It's like it's a weird. I love indie games because it's like I get to see it almost feels like I get to see people's imaginations come to life in a way that I think is like the coolest thing ever. So I'm like, this is a game that I think is like, even though you're a PC, primarily a PC gamer, I feel like you would get a kick out of playing a game to where the controls are relatively simple. You're mostly just dealing with the back trigger button, a melee button, and then you are dealing with like the running around motions with the left analog stick. So I'm like, and then left and right analog stick, you're aiming and such like that. But it's very
Yeah.
straightforward. So it's more
Yeah.
like this is one of those games to where I'm like, I could see you just. Oh, and also Steam Deck, it doesn't eat at the battery at all. It's like
Nice.
simple, yeah, simple, easy to play. I think you can get maybe close to like 6 hours on this game in particular, because it's like it's so light. It runs so light. It feels like in the very best way possible. I don't mean any disrespect by saying this. It's like it feels almost N64ish in the like visuals, but with a modern day aesthetic on top of that. And
Okay.
in the best way, like I think it's fun, it's zippy, it's fast paced. I think there's challenges galore. Like I try to maybe get an A rank or an S rank in every single level. So I'm like, there's challenges in that.
Respect.
If you don't want to do that necessarily challenge there's like you can mainline the whole story. I think it only takes like 5 to 6 hours. So it's like,
Wow.
yeah, so it's like it's as beefy as you want it to be as well. And it's as skill based as you want it to be as well. It's like you can play this game and get as much as you want out of it, or you can become a master who's basically like John Wick 2.0, where I threw a gun at a person, it hits them in the head. I catch the gun when it like whiplash back towards me, catches it, and then curb stomps the man as he's laying down in front of me. It's like it's zippy, it's fun, it's creative, it's unnecessarily bloodthirsty in the best way possible. But it's one of those games to where I'm like, if I'm giving a Steam Deck recommendation, I would definitely say I Am Your Beast is like a really cool game to check out and play.
Hell yeah. I'll add it to the list.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing about Steam Deck, though. There's so many cool games you can actually play that are. It's like it allows you to try things out, especially with like I think one of the best aspects about Steam Deck and Steam specifically right now is like
Mhm.
there's so many games that allow you to check out their demos. So
Yes.
what I would recommend to Steam Deck owners, especially those who are like going on trips all the time, even if you don't want to invest hardcore money in a game, just download maybe 12 or 6 to 12 demos and then just like really get a feel, really play out each demo just like you would play demos back in the day. See if you want to invest in more of that game. Like I think that's like one of the coolest features in video games right now is like the return of demos.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Demos are great.
they are. They really are. And demos are like also a curse to me because like there's a game that I love, love, love because it's called Moonlighters. It's like little guy. It's another indie game, surprise, but like a little guy. It is like a top-down Zelda-like game to where in the nighttime you are going out and you're hunting. You're going out into these dungeons, and anything you beat basically produces a resource, and
Mhm.
you gather that resource, and then at the end of each night you try to make it back home, or at least like leave the cave or leave whatever area you're in, and then you go
Mhm.
back home, and then you open up your shop because you're a shopkeeper, and you open up your shop, and then you basically sell all those resources that you were out hunting throughout the day. And some people are like, you're in a little small town, everyone's pretty nice, but there's some people who are like like thieves, and they try to like maybe steal some of your goods and such like that. So you kind of have to stop them. So there's a little mini game behind that as well. But like you're trying to make all the monies you can, and then by making all the money, you then can like either invest and open up different shops in the city as well, like in the little town that you're in,
Mhm.
and or
Mhm.
you can like buy other resources from other shopkeepers that allows you to go on deeper runs while you're going into like the actual dungeons. So it's a really cool loop. It's like there's so much fun behind that. And then there's fun behind the shopkeeping elements and you updating your shop and growing it out to being like from a general store to basically like the equivalent of like a fantasy Walmart, so to speak. And then there's and then you're also like and then you're also playing a really cool top-down Zelda-like game as well. So I'm like, there's so much creativity out there. But the reason why I bring Moonlighters up is because there's a sequel coming out, Moonlighters 2. And I made the mistake of playing the demo for Moonlighters 2. And I want that game injected right into my bloodstream now, man. I'm like, I made that mistake. But yeah. So I'm like, I think one of the best things about Steam in general is just the demo parts. And it's making a slight return on consoles, but not quite to the extreme that you see on like Steam at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you from a developer standpoint, Valve and Steam are very good. They are
Yeah.
they're very good to the people on the platform.
Love it, man. I absolutely love it.
Uh,
I was also
oh,
gonna say like a recommendation for like people who have the Steam Deck. Also, like Epic Games gives out 2 free games usually every
yes,
single week. Every
yes.
single week. So I'm like, even if you don't have a Steam library or even if you don't have a PC library, you can constantly keep growing your library out just by existing in the world.
Yep,
As long as you have an
yep.
Epic account. I'm like, and then you can play like other games from other launchers in your Steam Deck as well.
Oh yeah, and the other thing too is like wish list anything that you're even remotely interested in, because my lord, mind you, I was this I was the guy who dropped $100 on 2042, back during the pre-order for it. But like it's on sale right now for $3. And I'm like telling my friends, I'm like, look, it's $3. You could pick it up, play it, and be like, this is the worst thing I've ever played. I hate this. This is not Battlefield 6. This does not fit what I want. Okay, you lost $3.
What you're telling me right now is you're feeling the hankering to play more Battlefield after the beta.
Yes. Oh, yes. So I didn't get much of Weekend 2 because Weekend 2 started essentially right the day before we left for Florida. So I missed a lot of weekend 2, but weekend 1, I probably put in 30 hours.
Woo!
I hit max level. I was dropping 60 bombs in lobbies. Like it.
You were doing some work.
So I was quite proud of this because I was like, I'm a big numbers guy. So like with Destiny specifically, like I would argue 80% of my interest in Destiny 2 Crucible is because of the numbers. So there are so many websites where you can track your KD, you can track your efficiency, you can track your kills, you can track your headshot percentages on weapons, you can track your elo, because you can track all that, it gives me goals. So like usually when I enter a season, I'm like, okay, we're going to play a high volume amount of matches because that's what helps me get better. So you're going to play like 1,000 matches. Your goal is to improve your KD by this much. Your goal is to improve your kills per match to this much. I'm able to sort of like assess based off of weapons. Okay, you're hitting a 65% headshot percentage using this one weapon, but you're hitting an 80% with this other one. So why are we even considering this as an option when this one's clearly better, right? Numbers. Like Destiny 2, my career KD, mind you, it started off way down there. So it's been a climb. Okay. The career KD is now up to a 1.84, and it's been hard. The kills, assists, and deaths, which is, for me, it's a very weird stat because mine is way higher than my KD. Usually there's a 0.5 variance between people's KD and their KAD. So like if you're a 1.5 player, your kill assists and deaths is usually like a 2. Mine's like a 2.8, which I'm like, it's a top 1% number. Like I'm very proud of that. Yeah, I'm putting in, like, I might not get the kill, but I'm putting in work to help somebody else get the kill, and that's what matters, right? So for me, it's like I'm constantly looking at those numbers. That weekend at Battlefield, my lowest KD. And then mind you, it's not like he's sitting at the back of the map with this. No. Front line with the carbine, with the M4A5, we're dropping 3s, we're dropping 7s. I had like the game where I dropped the 60 bomb. I think it was like 62 and like 8. Like
you were
well, because this Battlefield is like the antithesis of millennial shooter. There is no weird movement crap. Like all of the guns play in very similar ranges for the most parts. And if you learn how to control them or how to set them up properly, they just become laser beams. If you have really good game sense, you know where to place yourself and how to take advantage of buildings, how to take advantage of cover. Like if you learn the stuff, you can just farm out. And so that was my thing, was I was really putting in the time to be like especially what I think is, in my opinion, maybe the greatest feature I've ever seen in an FPS, which is the armory being able to immediately hit a firing range. Like you pick a gun, you're like, how does it work? Firing range. And you're like, okay. And you start tinkering. You start playing with things. Okay, how does this sight look? How does this sight look? It's instant. So it's like by the time I'm loading into a lobby, I'm like, I've already shot this gun for like 2 hours. I know exactly what I'm getting out of it.
You are a practice makes perfect person to the T.
Yes. And that was my issue, is I'm like sitting there, and that's where I have so many balancing thoughts on so many of the weapons, because the carbines are so consistent. The M4A5, I do have a slight, or actually it's the M4A1, sorry. I do have a biasness towards, just because it is a 900 round per minute assault rifle, so like it cleans house, and then it also has really good bullet velocity. But like, especially if you get it down to like a 1.0 zoom sight, so like one of the hollow sights where it's just a super clean sight, not a ton of zoom, you just start, like, you can rack up headshots from like 80 meters away like it's nobody's business. So I learned that one, and then the AK whatever the AK version of the carbine is, like
Mhm.
it is an actual laser beam, and it's like once you get it with like soft points, you get the 2.1 headshot modifier going on there. It's like I think it was like 3 or 4 headshots up to like 100 meters, like as a kill every time. Like, yeah,
That is
I
crazy.
I was putting in work to be like, okay, how do the numbers work? What are the places on the map that I have to be on? So, like for instance, on this map, I now struggling to remember the name of. Um, like there's that, especially if you're playing control, there's just that one roof in the middle of the map that overhangs one of the points, and then it's like where A and B are. So like when they come over there, like if you just hang out up there, like so you run support, you got your bag and you got your carbine, you just ping people left and right, and it's like nobody's looking up. So like you're
Mm-mm.
just mowing people down. They're not paying attention. It's like I'd go on like 20 or 30 kill streaks just being on top of that roof, and then of
Damn.
course running around capturing points as well because it's a huge factor. But yeah, I'm a big breakthrough guy. I like breakthrough is my jam, and I think these maps are like sensational for breakthrough. I think they're also really good control maps. So like I did play the New York one. I thought that was a really good control map, but yeah, the Battlefield 6 single-handedly is replaced Destiny for me. Where I'm like,
Wow, that's
I
high
know
praise. That's high
I
praise.
know when Battlefield 6 comes out, like I will not be touching Crucible. I don't want to say ever again because that's not a commitment I will ever make, but like
No.
my playtime in Crucible is already low. It will be virtually non-existent when Battlefield 6 comes out, just because this is a much, much, much better multiplayer experience.
I
Yeah,
was really
like
surprised.
I was too.
I was really surprised. I've always been more, well, I would say probably for the past like 5 years I've been more of a single player gamer, but like I the hype is sort of like what you mentioned earlier. The hype compels you. It's like it's the ring, you know. It compels you to do what it wants you to do. And the hype for this one was like so high that I downloaded the beta, especially after you told me so many good things about it. It's like downloaded that beta for the second weekend because I didn't get to experience the first weekend, but that second weekend it was so amazing. Like it felt like 2000s like multiplayer
Yes.
all over again,
Yes.
and like it felt simplistic in a complex way. You know, like
Yes.
I felt like everything that I was doing, whether or not, you know, as you're seeing, you can see the footage here. I'm terrible at the game, but like everything that I was doing in the game felt like I was in control, whether or not I was like sucking at the game. It was because of stuff that I was doing and I needed to learn how to get better, or whether or not I finally overcome or gotten better at different aspects of the game. It was just like I made those adjustments myself. Everything felt rewarding, and it feels like it dishes out what you put into it. And I'm like, I
Yes.
love that. I absolutely love how rewarding it is. I love how I think like how well thought out it is. It feels like they've been listening to feedback, especially with the last fiascos of Battlefields there. I also feel
Yes.
like the maps and the map layouts are sensational. I feel like they
Yes.
all make sense. Nothing feels like it's
Yes.
out of place or feels wonky with this Battlefield 6, you know, beta. I'm so excited for Battlefields in a way that I haven't been in a very long time. I can't believe I'm saying this. Like Call of Duty is going to be on Game Pass. Call of Duty is probably going to sell blockbusters, but I can easily see the talk of the fall being more on Battlefield. Not necessarily that Call of Duty is like it's going to outsell Call of Duty. I don't think that there's a snowball chance in hell of that. But I can see more hype and more goodwill and more talk being on Battlefield 6 this fall than I can on Call of Duty and especially with the Black Ops trailers that they put out.
I completely agree. I as somebody who has played, like I've played Battlefield since like I played 1942. I played 1942. I played Battlefield Vietnam. I played, 2142. I played Battlefield 2, 3, 4. I took a break around Hardline. Like Hardline is where I dropped off, and played Bad Company 1. Didn't really play Bad Company 2, but like I have been in the Battlefield realm now for 20 years. I can say that confidently. And it's a series that I absolutely love and adore, and I forgot how much I loved and adored it until I picked up Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 1 in a Steam sale. They were sold as a bundle for $10 back in like it was either 2020 or it was 2020. Yeah. And I picked it up and I fell absolutely head over heels for the game again because they had made obviously one was when it released was sort of universally praised, and then as they develop more for it, people still absolutely adore that game. And I think one from a aesthetic standpoint and from a game, obviously from a gameplay standpoint, but from an aesthetic standpoint has been like the Battlefield that has been held up over the last 5-10 years, no, not 10 years, 5 years, as being like, okay, this is what Battlefield needs to be. Obviously, when 5 released, it was sort of a far cry from that, but even at the end of 5's life cycle, they had brought it back to a point where it felt like a really good Battlefield game. And so after putting in, I think it was like a combined like 800 hours between the two games, like it was ready for 2042, obviously, and then 2042 release being the ultimate disaster that it was. But yeah, I just to come back now to this and to have it feel like Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 4 is like it's all we've ever wanted from a Battlefield game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very, very excited to get in there and just absolutely go balls to the wall crazy for this game because
I think this is going to be my
sensational.
multiplayer game. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it is honestly sensational, and it is so good with friends. Like I have my friend Wheezy on Discord where I haven't Wheezy, like our alliance or alignment with games hasn't been all that close within the past year because we met through Destiny, and his interest in Destiny has really fallen off. And he's like, yeah, I really want to play Battlefield. I know that you're interested in it. Let's play. And like the fun that we had that first weekend, just even like the drag revive, like you're dragging your teammate and he'd be going, I got you, buddy. You're going to see your mom again.
That's awesome. Y'all went full deep into it. Role play.
Like it was like that kind of stuff. And it's like, it's just such a well executed game. And I think the biggest thing about this too is how well it runs. Like for a triple A game, it felt phenomenal. Did it have bugs? Yes, it had bugs. But like,
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it. It's like, I would accept the bugs for what they are, because the other thing too is I'm like, they'll fix it eventually. If we make enough of an uproar, they will fix it. It is something that they can fix. I know that they can. So just let them know, they'll get it taken care of and we can move on to a different bug, right? But yeah, I think I do have beef with balancing. Everybody does. Nobody expects the balancing to be good off rip, but yeah, I think the game is executed so freaking well. Like I have pre-ordered it. I will fully own it. I know everybody said don't pre-order, I am all in. Absolutely all in on Battlefield carrying the torch here.
So that's fun. I love the passion there that you were so enamored by what you saw in the beta, you were willing to pre-order.
That's how I knew. I was like, we're done with Destiny. I haven't been like this excited for a video game in a very long time.
That's amazing. That's cool.
Probably not since Final Shape, but even after Final Shape came out, I was like, this isn't all that.
Didn't quite hit the way you needed it to.
No. I mean, the campaign did, but that's an entirely different conversation.
Speaking of campaigns, do you think there's going to be any chance you check out the single player campaign that Battlefield is going to put out? Because I am.
I will definitely check out the single player campaign. My expectations are on the floor.
Yeah.
I remember enjoying the Battlefield 3 campaign. I know people are very nostalgic for the Battlefield 4 campaign as well, but like Um, the only thing that I would have also an interest in though is like, I know that they are doing sort of a Battlefield Labs server type thing. I would be somewhat interested in just, like my dad and I used to play Battlefield 2 together just against bots, and it would just be like a fun way to relax and you wouldn't
That's
have to
fun.
care. And it's like, you just fight bots. It's like kind of like a Battlefront 2, like how they have that
Mhm.
co-op mode. Like I would love to just have, because this game is the one thing I have said, the only downfall that I have with Battlefield is it is not chill. There is zero chill. This game is extremely intense. It's not a game where I could see, like, if I'm exhausted, that it is not a game that I'm going to want to pick up and play, because I'm going to be like, this is too much.
I gotta focus. I gotta lock in.
It is a lock-in game. I think as my friends described it, especially like with the way I played it, they said I was like a teenage like Adderall huffer. So it was like, yeah, if I'm not playing at that level, then it's like, no. So if there was a way to do sort of an offline, just goof off with bots and have a chill time, I know 2042 has that. But yeah, if there was a way to do that, I'd be interested. But yeah, I think as an overall package, I think it really is second to none.
Yeah, I'm so excited to go Lieutenant Dan on this game. Like I'm gonna be so. I'm going to go super serious into this. Oh yeah, and then I know I'm gonna get knocked. I know I'm gonna like need reviving all the time, but I'm gonna do like y'all do. I'm gonna role play that. But I'm gonna role play that.
I mean, I
I'm
know
gonna
a
have
guy.
to. Yeah. Oh yeah. We're gonna have to dive deep into this. I'm so excited. I haven't been this excited in a long time. I think we talked about this a while back. I had my mind or my anticipation for maybe that multiplayer spot to be taken up by potentially this game called Jump Space. It's like, yeah. So I'm still hoping that's good, and because that's like a co-op. I think it's PVE, co-op PVE. But it sort of feels like Destiny kind of meets Starfield, a little bit of that Star Wars kind of flavor too. So I'm hoping that one's good, but if not, I think this one's gonna be the crowning jewel of this year's multiplayer space.
As I told my friends, because we're also wrestling guys, I'm like, they had me at Limp Bizkit.
Oh yeah.
When the trailer had break stuff, I was like, let's go, I'm ready.
Man, I will never forget in my life that the Limp Bizkit hype video between Austin and Rock. My way. Oh my goodness, it's so good. It's so good.
As somebody, I was not a wrestling fan before I met my friend, and he is a wrestling guy. Like he will take you through the lore of like the Attitude Era, and like he will walk you through, okay, this is what this promo leads into, this is what this leads into. He made me my favorite will always be Stone Cold because of him, because of that promo, because like that was one of the first things he showed us was that promo, and if you don't get hype from that, you're not alive.
No, for sure not.
But like he made Kurt Angle my favorite wrestler. It's like
it's true.
But
it's damn true.
But yeah, that whole Limp Bizkit rotation there between The Rock and Stone Cold is just like, that's peak.
It's so good. And then they have that moment where they're toasting the beer and they slap each other. They're toasting each other and they're hitting each other harder and harder with the beer cans. They're clashing at first, and The Rock he gets that a little bit agitated about it and clashes harder. And then it just starts, and next thing you know, the fists are flying. And then I think that's where it breaks, where it goes, yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness, it's so hype. That's, to me, I think WrestleMania 17 is probably my favorite pay-per-view of all time as well. But yeah, that one's so good. That promo is absolutely good. Yeah. And I think that's the same one as TLC as well. The tables, ladders, and chairs match between like the Hardys, Dudleys, and
yes,
the Hardys, Dudleys, and Andrew Christian. Yeah, so I'm like, there's so much goodness there. So much goodness. But Alec, it is time. we are doing a brand new segment here. I know it's getting late. I know you have things to do. I know you're feeling the itch to play Destiny right now. Or perhaps
No, I will say, since we have started this call, I have received over 10, because I see the 9+ in the corner, and I know every single one of them is for Helldivers.
so y'all are gonna be diving tonight.
I'm gonna go buy the ODST pack and then go try out all the weapons and see how
That's fun.
it plays.
That's fun. Is there your favorite ODST weapon? Do you remember what it was by any chance?
Yeah, it's the assault rifle. I know everybody
Yeah, it's
goes
so good.
SMG and the pistol. No. My favorite, I know people will say, but you use hand cannons and palindrome. Yes. My favorite gun in any video game ever. If you told me, okay, you're going into battle, you can use one video game gun, it's the Halo assault rifle from Halo 1 specifically.
Wow.
Like that 60-round magazine, the one that just the bullet hose, as I call it, that specific one, because I think that is like the greatest gun ever.
I think my favorite gun from Halo 1 is probably the pistol.
Okay, that's fair.
I love that
pistol is good. Yeah.
All this and the scope on it. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. But yeah. All right. So, Alec, we're introducing a new segment to the show, so to speak. It is our AI reaction segment. So, for everyone who doesn't, this is our first time introducing this segment. I'm going to read out the concept. So, Alec and I are going to ask ChatGPT a video game related question. We're going to do it live right now, live in living color. And then we're going to react and debate the answer to the question that the answer that we basically threw out and the answer that we're giving it. So here we go. Alec, do you have a question in mind? What would you like to ask the great and mighty? This is like our generation's version of the 8-ball now.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
So,
I'm gonna ask it the question that is probably as highly debated as there is in all of gaming: Xbox or PlayStation. It's got to decide.
I just put Xbox or PlayStation, or do you want me to say which is better? What do you want to say?
No, yeah, Xbox or PlayStation. Let's see if ChatGPT gets it.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. What's your top pick and why? It knows.
All right, so here we go. Xbox or PlayStation? Okay. All right, so everybody, all right, so for audio listeners, we typed in Xbox or PlayStation. What's your top pick and why? And then it responded, good question. Honestly, it depends on what you value most in gaming. With Xbox, it said, there's Game Pass, probably the best deal in gaming, hundreds of games, including day one releases for subscription backwards compatibility, play games from Xbox 360, Xbox One hardware. Xbox Series X is slightly stronger than the PS5 in raw power. It said ecosystem works seamlessly with PC if you're into cross-play and cross-save. On PlayStation side of the fence, PS5, it said exclusives. Sony has the edge with big single-player story-driven titles, God of War, Spider-Man, Horizon, Last of Us, Final Fantasy 16, etc. So it said the DualSense controller, the adaptive triggers, the haptics really add immersion into certain games. And for some reason, it gave out VR. But VR, it said, PSVR 2 is impressive if you're into virtual reality. Personally, it said, if it had to pick one, ChatGPT would lean PlayStation, mainly because I love single-player story-driven games. Sony's exclusives are consistently some of the best experiences in that space, and if you're all about value, variety, flexibility, Xbox wins hands down with Game Pass. So, if you want me to give you my recommendation tailored specifically to your gaming style, like single-player, multiplayer, or mixed, that's what it's asking. What do you think about what it spit out?
So I'm on the higher plane of existence, being a PC user. No.
Yeah, for sure. You're a part of that master race that people have been telling us about all these years, huh?
Apparently. I've always thought the debate is stupid. I'm like, you like what you like, and I always think that, I think both platforms, which obviously Chat GPT points out here, both platforms
for sure.
offer different things. If you like what they offer on one platform, and you don't like what they offer on another, it could even come down to as much as UI. I know I personally like the PlayStation UI better than I like the Xbox UI.
I do too.
That being said, I like Xbox's access to, Halo. I constantly tell my friends, specifically my one friend, like, I wish that, they're PlayStation people. So, like, we've indoctrinated him to being a PlayStation person. But it's like, I wish he had picked Xbox so that we could play Halo. Because I know my other friends would be like, sure, I'll get an Xbox or whatever.
You might only have to wait until like the end of the year at this rate. Gears of
Right.
War just came over.
Yeah. But yeah, so like I think it's I think it's a fair response. I don't think it's necessarily wrong. I personally just don't have a dog in the fight. I'm like,
Yeah, I understand that.
I've owned both. I have mained one over the other for long periods of time. I do it just to sort of play with friends. I don't really have a preference over either, other than they both offer something different, which ChatGPT pointed out. So we'll give it credit where credit I think is due.
10 out of 10 answer, huh?
Maybe not 10 out of 10, but I do, especially in the part where it said, if I had to choose, I love single player experiences. I was like, okay, how many times have you received that response to then, regurgitate it back out me?
It knows its audience.
It knows its audience very well.
Sure. For sure. Do you have any other questions you would like to ask, Mr.
No, let's give you a good chance to ask
Okay.
ChatGPT here a question.
Gotcha. Let me think of a good question. Think of a good question. Okay. Give me a second. I'm going to be a little controversial here. All right. So,
As if
I
we
am-
haven't already.
yeah, I'm going to stir the pot a little bit more, I guess, at this point. All right. So, let me pull that up and bada bing, bada boom. All right. So, the question it has right now is what single player game has the most underrated story of all time? I'm going to take that out real quick and I'm going to put overrated. What single player game has the most overrated story of all time is what I want to ask Mr. Chat GPT or Mrs. Let's find out. First thing it said, ooh, that's a spicy one. Most overrated story of all time really depends on what corner of the gaming community you ask, but a few names always come up in the debate. BioShock Infinite is one of it, and one that it said The Last of Us Part 2, Red Dead Redemption Part 2, Final Fantasy 7, a game series that we mentioned earlier, the Kingdom Hearts series. If I had to pick one, it said I pick BioShock Infinite. It's ambitious and thought-provoking, but often gets praised as genius when its execution left a lot of narrative thread dangling. Would you like me to give you a hot take on the top 5? No, it's coming out. It's coming out. That's funny. All right. So, what do you think about this? What do you think about the list? What do you think about the game it ultimately chose? You've played BioShock, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I have. Big BioShock fan, actually.
No.
I don't necessarily disagree with it. I think the one thing I will say about BioShock Infinite is you have to really be dialed in. And if you're not really dialed in, it's confusing as hell. So I will give it that. I will
Okay.
definitely say it's not a clean story. I do think it is a tremendous game, but I definitely don't disagree that it is not a clean story. The one that really gets me there, though, is Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm like, ooh, that's a take.
That is a take.
That is a take.
That is a take. I do like me some Arthur Morgan.
I was gonna say, I'm like, not that I am like the biggest Red Dead guy, but like, I put probably. I know this is going to sound really pathetic to people who play Red Dead, but like, I put in about 10 to 20 hours, probably more than that, probably more than 20.
You played a decent chunk then.
Played a decent chunk, and I tried to keep it mainly story focused just because I had a friend who was also playing it at the same time who was like a completionist. So he did platinum the game, and I saw it took him months because it came
Yeah.
out our senior year in college. And I was like, I'm not here to play this for months. I am interested, but not to play it for months. But it's a pretty good story. Say it's overrated. I mean, slow pacing, maybe, but I think,
Let me see something.
nobody gawks at a Quentin Tarantino film and goes, "Oh, it's too slow pacing." Like, you sign up for a 3-hour movie, you know what you're kind of signing up for,
Let me see something.
Like
I want to see.
that's a very spicy take.
It is very spicy. It is very spicy. Google mostly throws out immediately The Last of Us, Elden Ring, Majora's Mask, and Starfield.
I mean, really, it's controversial to say that Starfield is
I was about to say,
overrated.
the Starfield made the overrated part?
I would say it's properly rated.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you.
I think it might get more hate than it deserves, but I think it's mostly warranted criticism of Bethesda. So
I think that game nowadays is better than what it was in launch for sure. But
yes,
I also think like if you're a game and your base game has to be uplifted by mods, and that's what makes you a great game, were you a great game to begin with?
yep,
It's like,
yep.
or were you a solid platform to begin with? And I'm like, I feel like Oblivion, Skyrim, to their credit, were good games before mods even touched those, and then mods only amplified the greatness of those games. Skyrim, I think, was a mid-tier game that was taken maybe slightly beyond that now because mods have helped elevate that overall quality of the presentation, the gameplay, the traversal. Basically, if mods you had to turn on mods to help traversal, gameplay, mechanics, story, also characters. Then I was just like, you changed the whole nature of that game, and I think that you have to take that into consideration. I just looked up Google for a second on Google, and DualShockers had the top 10 overrated games of all time. A story, I guess you could say, article that they posted. Ocarina of Time was one. God of War 3 was one of them. Detroit Become Human, Horizon Zero Dawn, Last of Us Part 2, so another Last of Us, Red Dead Redemption 1. I love Red Dead Redemption
Okay,
1.
hold
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, I love Red Dead Redemption 1. Oh, God. Grand Theft Auto 5, Kingdom Hearts 3, Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots, and Bioshock Infinite was number one again.
See, I get it. I get it.
Wow.
I get it from the perspective that it is a very, very complex story that is not necessarily told the cleanest.
Yeah.
Oh.
Huh.
I don't think it's necessarily wrong. I do think and I also haven't played it in a considerably long time.
I haven't
So
either.
it's possible I need to sit down and just replay it to be like, "Oh, okay." I don't necessarily think it's outside of the realm of possibility to say that it's overrated.
Huh. That's crazy. I just didn't know Bioshock Infinite was just this contentious on the internet. I didn't know. I didn't know. Did not know.
I think it's one of those things where it's like
If you have
the
to
debate.
choose.
I think it's one of those things like Tenet.
Yeah.
The movie Tenet, where people were like, "This movie's brilliant. If you've seen it, it's incredible." And then there's a lot of people that are like, "I didn't understand what happened
That is
because
true.
the vehicle for the storytelling was not clear." So, and there are people that are like, "Well, the value in Tenet is you have to rewatch it a couple of times, and then once you rewatch it a couple times, it really is like mind." I don't want to rewatch it a couple of times because it didn't make sense the first time, which ruins the appeal of the rewatches.
I understand that.
Yeah, I think it's that conflicting of, and I think that sort of Chat GPT highlighted it as well as that last article of they probably went too far out in left field with a lot of the concepts and then didn't fully explain it, and then it just all sort of gets muddied.
All right, really quick. I'm gonna ask you 3 trivia questions. 3.
Okay.
They're specialized towards. I think they're specialized towards you in a little bit ways. So I'm testing specifically your memory here. Your
Okay.
memory. All right. So here we go. The first question in our video game trivia challenge. It is, which Halo game first introduced dual wielding weapons?
Halo 2.
Absolutely correct, good sir. Absolutely correct. No hesitation. Just straight
Oh,
straight from the hip.
Oh, because I remember this. Halo 2 arrived. We ordered
Mhm.
it and it came online, came in a box. And that was a big deal in 2003 or 2004. It was like, wow, you can order this online. And we opened up, I remember my dad told us Halo's in the box, it's the new
Mhm.
Halo, but we're going out to dinner or something.
No.
I ripped open the box and put it in because I was like, I got to try this. And that first level where you get to dual wield the SMGs, I was
Yeah. Mind blown.
like, yeah. I was like, I didn't know Halo could get even better.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. So it was the SMGs were the first things you dual wielded in Halo, right? Or did they give you the option?
believe so. I think they give you the option to dual wield the SMGs, but I think like shortly after that you can dual wield what is it, the SMG and then the
Plasma pistol?
Yeah. Nah, not the pistol,
Needler?
not the needler. It's the elite weapon. I can see it.
The one that makes the U shape.
Yes. I don't know why its name is escaping me here, but
Was it? Hold on.
the Halo fanboys are screaming at me right now. It's not the
I'm
plasma rifle.
blanking too. Was it plasma rifle? I feel like the rifle was the actual. Okay, so there was a battle rifle, there was a plasma pistol, there was a needler. I remember the plasma grenade, frag grenade, the SMG.
Yeah, it is the plasma rifle.
It is
I'll
a
be
plasma
damned.
rifle. I was just
Okay.
thinking, because when you said plasma rifle, it made me think of the carbine. Yeah. I was just like, that's weird because your rifle, it, doesn't feel like it would be the assault weapon. But yeah, so plasma rifle. Oh, the brute shot. I forgot about the brute shot was introduced. in
Oh,
this
brute
game.
shot was cool as hell.
Yeah, the brute shot was really cool. It was. All right, so your second question in the movie, no, it's a movie, in the video game trivia challenge. Here we go. What planet is the setting for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order's opening mission?
Shoot.
Keep in mind, you do have multiple choice. You can use the lifeline for it.
Okay,
If need
yes,
be.
multiple choice for sure.
Okay. Is it Kashyyyk, Darthmere, Tatooine, Bracca?
I think it's Bracca.
Bracca is absolutely correct, good sir.
So I know
Bracca's.
the next one after that is I was trying to think if it was the opening mission or if it's the one where technically like where you start to actually explore, which is what that's Zepho, right?
Zepho, yeah, I believe was that one. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, good sir, I have 2 potential questions, but I have to ask you a preliminary question to make sure. The first
Okay.
one is, did you play the Mass Effect games? Yes and
Yes
no.
and no. Yes and
Okay.
no.
Yes and no. Okay. Gotcha.
I played a little bit myself, but mainly watched my older brother and his friend play it as
Oh,
the wonderful Bobina Shepherd, because they made her a she, and she was Bobina, and I was like, wow, very well, aptly named there.
why did they choose that one?
They were always into naming things funny.
Okay. Okay. I like that. At least they had a tradition. All
Yeah,
right.
but they used to also the other thing that they used to do, side note, is they used to try to make the ugliest character in Oblivion because of how bad the sliders were. So like, yeah, they would make the character like blue and like their face would literally be like thin as paper and they were like a fish. It was something.
It's stuff of nightmares, basically, at that point. Stuff of nightmares. That is funny. All right. So, all right. Who was a cover athlete of FIFA 2013?
FIFA 13. Was it Messi?
Is that your first answer? Is that your your answer here?
Yeah, I'm gonna double down. I'm gonna say it was Messi.
That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
That is absolutely correct.
Because I remember like FIFA 12 through like 15, I think was all Messi, and then
That is crazy. He got all of them?
yeah. Messi. So this is really gonna piss people off now. This is what we really should ask ChatGPT. Messi was, I know people will say, but Ronaldo. Messi was basically over that period like the greatest soccer player in the history of soccer. And I know there are people who be like, Ronaldo. I don't care. He was the greatest soccer player. Like Messi's peak was like really something else. Like just absolutely insane. And I know Ronaldo is that level. They are both the two greatest soccer players of all time. And I know that pisses off the Brazilians with Pele. Pele is not, those two don't even come at me with that. But like Messi is the greatest footballer ever. Like he was
That dude.
that dude. That dude did
The
stuff
MJ.
that, yeah. I'll have to send you a clip later, but there was one clip where he dribbles through like 9 people to score a
is
goal against, I
crazy.
think it was against Athletic Bilbao. And it's like every time I see it, I'm just like, how? Like, how does one person do that? How does one person ever get that good? I
Sounds
used to
like
tell,
anime I watch about soccer. That's it sounds unreal.
yeah,
That's crazy.
to the point where I had a friend once ask me, they're like, if you could switch bodies with one person ever, who would it be? I was like, Messi. I would like to just know what it's like to be that good at one thing for a day. Just to be, because like everything he did, like everything he did turned to gold. It was like unbelievable. Especially there was one season he scored 91 goals over a calendar year. Like just
That's insane.
and he did it against like, yes, some people say, oh, he did it against, La Liga. Okay, yes, he did score, he did have some very big games against La Liga teams, whatever, but he also did it in the Champions League. He did it in championship matches. He did it against Real Madrid. He did it against the best of the best.
That is crazy. I did not know that. So, did you know there's 2 other people on the cover that year on the 13?
Okay, so I'm going to guess one of them is Landon Donovan.
Okay. What's your
Just
other guess?
because I know that the American presence. For FIFA 13 might be Iniesta.
Okay, so FIFA 13 was a game that was crazy enough. There had different cover stars based on the regions that it was put out. But
Yes.
globally, Messi was on the cover of the on the cover of the game. In the United Kingdom version, there was also the UK version, there was also other people on the cover of that game. It was Joe
Wayne Rooney?
Hart.
Wow, Joe Hart.
Yes.
That's awesome. Good for Joe
And you might have to help
Hart.
me with the pronunciation of this last name. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain?
Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Yes.
Mhm.
He was
Yeah.
one of, so as a Tottenham fan,
Okay.
go Birds. As a Tottenham fan, Arsenal are our biggest rivals, and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain played for Arsenal. And Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, Jack Wilshere, there's another player from that era that's escaping my mind. But they were like very young, up and coming big players for Arsenal, which Arsenal, as much as banter as we all give them, they are a massive club. So their success in England is huge to everybody, and because they were young and up and coming players, they were seen as very good. But in reality, I think injuries, I know for sure Jack Wilshere was absolutely cut down by injuries. I don't know about Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. What I'm surprised that Rooney's not on there, because I remember Rooney might have been on 2012. I know he was for sure on 2010. But yeah, Rooney was always a fixture. Joe Hart's interesting. I mean, I guess it is right around the time where City had won their first Premier League championship, so which he was their goalkeeper and was probably the best goalkeeper in the country at the time.
So goalkeepers have made such renown that they've actually become
Oh yeah.
cover athletes on video games?
Oh yeah. Goalkeepers are depending on, so like goalkeepers have aura. Like Manuel Neuer, who has been the Bayern goalkeeper now for 15 or 16 years. It's been a really long time, probably even longer. I know that he is like a fixture of like German football. He's seen as like the captain of the German national team. He is like front and center. I know that Gigi Buffon, the
Mhm.
famous Italian goalkeeper, is sort of world renowned. I know
That's interesting
gosh.
because I'm like I don't know why. It's just like sometimes I'll pick up and play these games, and I never imagined like someone doing a my player where they're the goalkeeper. You know, like it's always you know what I mean.
Well, so it's a little bit different with soccer only because like goalkeepers have like really big moments. So for instance, in the Champions League, my God, it's gonna drive me crazy. It's Coutinho, I think. Real Madrid, Coutinho. No, Courtois. Thank you.
Okay.
Found it myself. Yes, Courtois played in the Champions League final. It was Real Madrid. I can't remember if they played Liverpool or some other team, but he had an immense match. Like Real did not play well. They won the match, but they had maybe 2 chances the entire match. They played very far back. The manager at the time was Carlo Ancelotti, and he very much was like, I'll let the players figure it out. But from a conceptual standpoint, he was more of a counterattacking style, especially against bigger teams, and just letting player talent sort of carry the team forward. And Liverpool was like high press, high intensity, push, 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 and they had shot after shot after shot. We're talking like high expected goal chance. So like one of the big stats that stats nerds like is they like will rate shots based off of what the expected goal percentage is. Oh, if I take
Oh,
a
okay.
shot from there, it's like a 40% chance. So your XG equals 40. But yeah, Liverpool's XG was like through the roof. But Courtois just kept making like acrobatic saves, like just saving everything to the point where it was like when that match ended, it was like because of Courtois that Real Madrid won that match. To the point where it was like Courtois became a super, not that he wasn't before that, but he became like seen as a top 3 soccer player in the world because it was like
Oh,
what
that's
he
cool.
had done in net was so transcendent that if you have that kind of performance, it like propels you to an entirely different level of like, yeah, kind of like Joe Hart. It's like if you play at that level for that long, it propels you to a different sort of stratosphere.
That's really cool. I've learned something new. Are you excited about the? I did. I was just like, because I was like, I looked at the. I was like, I always look at those, and I'm thinking like, I can see people picking striker, midfield, maybe defender. But then I was like, I've never seen anyone have gameplay of like them playing as the defender or like as a goalkeeper before. So I was
It's
interested.
really interesting too, because like when I started as a kid, you were right. Everybody wanted to be a striker or they wanted to be a midfielder.
Yeah.
And then as I have gotten older and as the game has changed so drastically, excuse me, mostly because of the current manager at Manchester City, Pep Guardiola, it's become very winger focused. So like everybody wants to be a fullback, everybody wants to be a winger, or at least play within that sort of stratosphere, as opposed to being necessarily like a striker. Like the traditional striker is like almost kind of dead, and everybody's just playing like wingers now that all cut in and score goals. So it's kind of interesting to see that sort of flip.
That evolution there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. Are you excited about the World Cup next year?
Very, very. So I won't lie, I definitely would like to see at least a match or 2. Even if it's not, I don't know if I necessarily need to see the US play, but like I would like to see if you can see Messi play for Argentina, because I imagine he will play one last time for this World Cup. I would like to see that.
They have
But
what? I
yeah.
think 2 locations near you in Cali. I think there's going to be
Yeah,
one
they
in
have
LA and San Fran, right?
Yep, they have those 2 locations. So I'm like, ooh, because Another little video game thing that they used to do. Now they don't, because now they just incorporate it in FIFA. But they used to sell a standalone FIFA World Cup game.
Mhm.
That was a lot of fun. Like you could play qualifying matches all the
Yeah.
way up, and you could play as almost any team in the world and put them in the World Cup. So yeah, one of my first connections to FIFA ever was FIFA World Cup '06. Being like, what is soccer? Like as an American, we didn't really know. So
No, for sure not. Outside of Little League. Outside of Little League, we didn't know about soccer like that.
yeah, and I remember I fell in love with the French national team because it was the only team I could play well with. And you look back at the French national team and it's got players like Zidane in it. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, you're using like maybe one of the greatest soccer players of all time. No wonder you like the French national team.
It feels like the cheat code at that point.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit.
Yeah. That's exciting. That's exciting. So, Alec, I got to ask you one last question before we go. You got anything you want to shout out? Where can the good people find you? Any updates you want to give out?
No updates at the moment. Just stay tuned because yeah, like I said, we're working on something. So we have something coming down the pipe hopefully soon. Because yeah,
I'm
we would
excited
like
to hear
to.
about it.
We want to get back out there. The only thing I will say is isometric dungeon crawler. And we'll leave it at that. So
That's fun. It's a fun genre.
it's definitely for us. It's fun too because it's something that we don't play. So it's like, oh, this is like a new challenge to be like, instead of doing what we know, let's try something totally different and let's see if we can figure it out and make it fun for people that aren't isometric dungeon crawlers.
It's a good perspective. I like that. I like that. So before you go all patriotic and fight for Super Earth, I gotta thank you, man. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. It's always a blast.
Of course. I mean, you know me. I always love doing this. So anytime you want.
All right, man. Thank y'all so much. Thank you so much for everyone for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the Discord channel, all that good jazz and such like that. I've been Sebastian. That's been Alec. This has been our Friday recording, our game, our game ranting, our soccer ranting, everything in between, roguelike ranting, session where we like to just talk about all the video games that we love playing. In the meanwhile, thank y'all so much for listening. Until next time, peace out, everybody.